I'm your huckleberry. That's just my game.
Hey all, Hipper here. So today we finally made it to the Wichita, and of course this is one of the most powerful cruisers in the game, and it's just great, really. It is a little bit of an unfair ship, just like Cleveland, but it's not as bad as Cleveland, I think. So, like to draw a parallel to Doc Holliday here, obviously this is a ship that mostly uses its 6-shooter at the front. So I'm referring to the 2 turrets in the front that obviously shoot 6 shells. And also another thing is that if you are like a retired dentist player, like Doc Holliday was, you will do well in this ship, pretty much whether you like it or not. And the same if you are a drunk gambler, yeah, well, pop in Wichita and you will highly likely have a good game, because this ship is just so strong that it turns pretty much anyone who plays it into someone like Doc Holliday. And on another note, if you haven't watched the movie Tombstone, I highly recommend you do. It is probably one of my favorite movies, actually. And like Val Kilmer's portrayal of Doc Holliday in that movie is also just like really, really entertaining. So anyway, enough about movies. So when Wichita first came out in, I think it was June last year, it was the first and only cruiser to be able to get the rudder below 2 seconds. Actually, you could get it to 1.9 seconds. These days, other cruisers have joined it, and Atago can get to 1.8, and Suzuya 1.4, and even Edinburgh can go down to 1.9 seconds now, I believe. So Wichita is not so special anymore, and that's also why I don't really play it a lot anymore, because its role has pretty much been taken over by Edinburgh. Because Edinburgh has a radar as well, except for the fact that it also has torpedoes and that 30mm bow. So in most situations, Edinburgh is just more useful than Wichita these days. It didn't used to be that way. Wichita used to be probably the best cruiser, and of course it is still a very good cruiser. And obviously it has high explosive shells, which Edinburgh misses out on. So usually you get more damage in Wichita because you can start fires. As you can see here, you can also just show broadside at enemies and not really worry about it, because it's very rare to get citadel in this ship here. And that's one of the reasons that if you're not a strong cruiser player, you should try this ship here if you have it. It really helps to get good games. Unfortunately, it doesn't really help you become a better cruiser player, because you can just get away with stuff in this ship that you cannot get away with in any other ship, except perhaps for Cleveland. So, for example, showing broadside to a point-blank Baltimore like I did before, and I only took a little bit of damage doing that. That's not something you want to do in any other cruiser. Perhaps, like I said before, barring Cleveland. Because Wichita and Cleveland, they share a lot of characteristics. Of course, Cleveland's armor is not as good as Wichita, but that's a good thing, because it just means everyone overpens you. And the same thing seems to happen with Wichita, although the armor is thicker. And citadels is a rare occurrence on both ships. And as with most premiums, Wichita offers many ways to play this ship. Like, I always play it with an agile build, because that's just what I like. But there's nothing stopping you from building it for pure range, or reload or anything like that. It works pretty much with anything. So like I said, Wichita was the campaign price about a year ago, and it hasn't been available since. And I don't know if it will be available again. Probably 6 months ago, I thought that it probably shouldn't ever be on sale again. Or maybe a bit longer than that. But then on the other hand, we do have Cleveland now, which is an even worse and even more unfair ship. So perhaps Wichita isn't as I don't want to say overpowered, but not as strong as it once was. Especially when you're comparing to what I said before about cruisers like Edinburgh now actually being just as agile as Wichita, and also having a radar and torpedoes as well. So yeah, perhaps it's time to pop this ship here in the shop again, or for global XP, or who knows how. And Wichita and Shamba, they always been the ships where people say, oh, they should never come on sale again. But like, I have no problem with Shamba. I don't think it's a very a particularly good battleship actually. And like I said, Wichita, yeah, it used to be very, very strong. It has been power crept a bit over the last 6 months. So yeah, I wouldn't have a problem if it comes for sale again, because like I said, I actually consider Cleveland a worse ship to deal with. So yeah, go ahead. Another thing Wichita is going for it is that it is quite an amusing ship to play. On paper it looks a lot like Baltimore, but when you play the two ships you will realize that Wichita is a lot more fun to play than Baltimore. Baltimore just seems slower overall. I don't know if it actually is. And of course the reload is much longer, and you can't really HE spam to the same degree as you can in Wichita. Of course in Baltimore is all about AP, like the super heavy American kind. And if you have the sure lane Baltimore commander, you also get a shorter fuse time, which is quite amazing in that ship. But we'll get to that later. Unfortunately, like I said, I think Baltimore is probably the most boring ship to play in the game, which is of course a huge downside, because most people play this game to have fun. And of course to win as well. And yeah, there's nothing wrong with the winning potential of Baltimore, but the fun factor is just well, severely lacking. So that's another reason why Wichita is Doc Holliday, because it's just more fun. And he's a fun guy, so this is a fun ship. Pretty much. But of course, I still much prefer Edinburgh these days. The introduction of the two rudder inspirations has really completely changed that ship for the better, obviously. It's not my favorite cruiser. My favorite cruiser at the moment is Hipper, but Edinburgh is just behind it, and which is quite funny because I used to hate Edinburgh. I just couldn't get along with that ship at all. But these days, with a full rudder build and below 2-second rudder, yeah, it's a very, very good ship with an agile build on it. And the same goes with Wichita here. It's a lot of fun as an agile cruiser, and it works well as a more traditional build as well, but I just think that's too boring. And I usually pop those builds on Baltimore actually, although I don't play that ship a lot, because I only play it when I want to have a nap, basically. Now Wichita doesn't get the super heavy American armor-piercing rounds like Baltimore does. But that's not to say that the AP is bad on Wichita, it's not. The trajectory of the guns make it a little bit hard at distance to land those nice citadels hits. For a shot like this, I would much rather be in Hipper, where you can just... that Belfast would have been dead a long time ago if Hipper was in this position here and had a broadside on it. Or maybe I'm just a terrible shot, I don't know. But the AP is good. Don't underestimate it in Wichita. Most people use this ship as an HE platform, and yeah, it works well. Nothing wrong with that. But when you get the opportunity to punish people with your AP, don't let it pass you by, because it is very effective. Wichita, along with Baltimore and Edinburgh, are probably also the best cruisers out there for carrying teams with. When you're in those battles where everything just goes wrong, like, you have a better chance of coming out victorious if you're in Wichita or Baltimore or like Edinburgh, one of the really like very, very good tier 7 cruisers. So in other words, this is definitely not a gentleman's cruiser. This is like a borderline overpowered tier 7 cruiser that lets you get away with stuff that you really shouldn't be allowed to get away with. And again, that's why at least one of the reasons why Doc Holliday comes to mind when I look at this ship. So yeah, well, I hope you agree, and I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you out there.